Okay, so I was watching an interview between Bill Maher, an outspoken critic of faith and Christianity, and some other guy. And it dawned on me as I'm watching this that probably a lot of people who are investigating faith, investigating Christianity, they get some of their ideas from guys like Bill Maher and some of the other people in society and on TV and all that kind of thing. But so here's what I want to say about that. There are three things, at least three things, that Bill Maher might be wrong about. Okay, so here's the first thing. He said this, and I quote, "Faith is the purposeful suspension of critical thinking." So it's like he's setting up this thing, like everyone who's a Christian is stupid and has suspended critical thinking, and they're not reasonable, they're not rational. And everyone who's agnostic or atheistic or who doesn't have a belief or who doesn't go to church, then they must be rational thinkers. But again, that just stop and think about that's not a reasonable thing. I mean, if you're investigating faith, just think about it. There are a lot of people who are very intelligent who still have a belief in God. You're not an idiot because you believe in the Bible. You're not an idiot if you have a faith perspective. I mean, really, after all, everyone has to believe in something. Everyone has an ideology. Even Bill Maher's got some ideological ideas and thoughts and those sorts of things. Now, he wouldn't call it faith, he wouldn't call it religion, but there's a pretty thin line between those two things. All right, here's the second thing he might be wrong about. He said something like this. He said, there are only two reasons that Christians believe the stuff they believe. Number one, someone told them, and he means like some pastor or minister told you, and then you're just a robot and you believe it. Or number two, you read it in the Bible. And I wasn't really sure what his point was, but I think what he was getting at is think for yourself. So it's kind of like he's saying, well, the alternative is don't let the Bible tell you what's true. Don't let some spiritual leader tell you what's true. Just think for yourself and you'll figure out what's true. But again, there's just really a lot of problems in that way of thinking because there's a lot of people that have just thought for themselves, not because someone told them, not because some religious book told them, but because they came up with this stupid idea for themselves and that have gotten them into a lot of trouble. So the third alternative, like just thinking for yourself, that really has got some of its own problems. And then here's the third thing, and he actually might not be wrong about this. This is a challenge for Christians. He said, Christians only believe the happy half of the Bible. And what he's saying is, the hard stuff, the stuff that we have a difficult time explaining away, some of the stuff in the Old Testament, even some of the stuff in the New Testament, like we Christians are good at just saying, well, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna grasp this, and I'm gonna affirm this, and I'm gonna hold on to this, but this thing over here, I don't get it or I don't like it. And so I'm not going to affirm it. And this really is a good challenge to us. In fact, if you're watching this, considering putting your faith in Christ, considering becoming a Christian, listen, here's the thing you need to understand. At the heart of Christianity is trusting Jesus, and not just trusting what he did on the cross and all that kind of stuff. That's important, but also just trusting his perspective over your own perspective. Sort of taking God on his terms, coming to God on his terms, rather than coming to God on your own terms. And don't forget that, if you're investigating faith, don't forget at the end of the day, faith is about saying, God, you're God, I'm not. I recognize I don't have all the answers. The Bill Mahers of the world, the people who think that, there's this real clear dividing line between rational thinkers and people of faith. Listen, the truth is we all have to decide who we're going to believe in. Are you going to believe in yourself? Are you going to trust yourself? Are you going to trust your own opinions above God's opinion? Or are you going to trust God's opinion even when it's not always easy? So anyway, those are some things to think about. You can use the resources below to talk about it with a mentor, with a small group, someone in your own world.